Hi, thanks for watching. Today I'm talking about Vangelis by Sylvaine Delacourte. I first sampled this perfume in May or June, and I remember mentioning it in my monthly fragrance rotation video. I got a sample in an amber perfume sample set, so all the scents were by different perfume houses, and this was one of them. Now, I love amber perfumes, but I don't normally love vanilla scents, so I was surprised at how much I liked Vangelis. One of the things that really stood out to me was this really well done, nicely blended almond note that is in the perfume, and combined with a blend of spices, it is definitely something that I enjoy wearing, and I did enjoy wearing it. However, because it was going to be warm and I typically don't wear vanillas in warmer weather, I decided to wait until the winter time, the fall or winter, to order my bottle. So my bottle arrived a couple weeks ago, and this past weekend we had 25 centimeters of snow. So it is definitely the perfect temperature now to wear a vanilla perfume. And I have been able to wear this quite a bit since it is now super cold outside. Vangelis by Sylvaine Delacourte is not named after the famous Greek musician who lived from 1943 to 2022. It's simply a name chosen because it begins with the letter V, and it's part of a line of perfumes that all focus on vanilla as a note, and all the perfumes in the collection start with the letter V. Vangelis was released in 2018 as part of the vanilla line of perfumes by Sylvaine Delacourte. The line had different scent profiles for the vanilla, so there was a citrus vanilla, musky vanilla, floral vanilla, so on and so forth, and this was the spicy vanilla from that set. Now, Sylvaine Delacourte used to be the creative director for Guerlain, and she was also the director of VIP experiences at that company. Guerlain has a specific aesthetic, and that aesthetic does come through in Vangelis. So the vanilla is not syrupy sweet, it's not cloying, it's not gourmand, even though there are gourmand notes in the perfume. There is kind of a floral aspect to the vanilla, and it's well done because it doesn't shout, it's not very loud, sits close to the skin, but it's very easy to wear. So if you are like me and you don't like vanilla scents or you don't like gourmand perfumes, you will maybe still like to wear Vangelis because it's a really well done and easygoing kind of vanilla. It's comforting and inviting. Sylvaine Delacourte says that this is the assertive vanilla, perhaps because of the spiciness, but I don't think that it's so assertive that it announces itself. I think it's actually a vanilla that's done just right. Now that you know that Sylvaine Delacourte used to work at Guerlain, you're probably wondering whether Vangelis resembles any other Guerlain perfumes. And to be honest, when I first sampled it, the dry down did remind me a little bit of Bois d'Armani. I think there is a benzoin, maybe tonka, and vanilla blend that's in the dry down. So yes, it's a little bit reminiscent of that, but not really exactly. It doesn't remind me of Spiritueuse Double Vanille, which is a well-loved Guerlain perfume, but that one just didn't work for me because it's way too sweet and much sweeter than Vangelis. It does remind me a little bit of Louis, and I think the reason for that is that Louis has this carnation and clove combination, and that is apparent in Vangelis as well. Because there is a lot of vanilla here and more vanilla than is in Louis, I feel like Vangelis is sweeter, and that clove and carnation doesn't really come out as much because it's overshadowed by the vanilla. It goes by the name Oeillet Pourer now. if you're familiar with that perfume, then you might find aspects of that in Vangelis just the way that I did. But I would still say that this is not a dupe of Louis. Louis has other notes in it, and the final effect of Louis is that it always reminds me of bubblegum. It's just a little bit more delicious in a different kind of way, and Vangelis is delicious in a more vanilla kind of way. There are some other perfumes that I'm reminded of when I smell Vangelis, and I'll talk about them as I talk about some of the other notes that are in this perfume. One of the notes that's very prominent in the opening of Vangelis is a really juicy, uplifting clementine. And I think that's one of the reasons that this perfume works particularly well in the wintertime, because when things are dark and depressing outside like they are now, it's pretty cold, eating an orange or smelling an orange makes you think of a warmer climate, warmer weather, and really more fertile grounds. And Vangelis just has this beautiful, delicious, yummy clementine opening that is honestly quite mouth-watering and very sweet when you first spray the perfume. I enjoy it, and I find that it kind of reminds me of the opening of one of my favorite perfumes, which is Meharees by L'Herbolario. Now, Meharees opens with lemon sugar, but its effervescence and the fact that it reminds you of a warm, sunny day is very similar to the way that the clementine functions in Vangelis. So it does remind me of Meharees a little bit in the opening because those citrus notes are really prominent, sweet, juicy, and exhilarating to smell. Another perfume I have that kind of reminds me of Vangelis in its own way is Noir Peace by Frederic Malle. Noir Peace opens with a different kind of orange note, and the blend of spices in here, yes, there is clove in here as well, but the blend is way more mentholated and it's not sweet at all. So Noir Peace almost reminds me of like a more masculine perfume. This is not a vanilla perfume at all, but the opening does remind me a little bit of the opening of Vangelis because you've got that combination of citrus and cloves. Noir Peace is maybe a little bit more Christmassy to me, and Vangelis again is really a vanilla perfume. So vanilla kind of makes a presence from beginning to end. When you spray this perfume, when you're wearing this perfume, you really smell the vanilla even in conjunction with the orange and the other spices that are in the scent. There's a cardamom in here that comes through. The cardamom's kind of in the mid. It makes an appearance a little bit later. It's not quite as mentholated as the cardamom in other perfumes. It's not very strong. It is a gently spiced perfume. I've seen people refer to Vangelis as a chai scent, but there's nothing lactonic in here. It really is just a lot of spices and vanilla. Yes, the spices and the vanilla are really well blended and well blended in the way that a nicely made chai is well blended, but again, this is just like a sweeter, more gourmand take on spicy vanilla, but not a chai perfume. I don't perceive it as a chai perfume because there's nothing lactonic in this, and chai is a blend of tea and spices and milk, and there's also no tea in this perfume, so it's missing many elements of chai, but yes, the chai spices are here. Cinnamon is not a listed note that I've seen, but I do sense a little bit of bitter cinnamon that makes an appearance. Maybe it's combined with the other spices. Maybe there's a little bit of bitter almonds that comes through, and the bitterness of the almond tempers that vanilla a little bit. But really, the vanilla is so sweet that nothing can get in its way. But it's still a quiet vanilla. It's a vanilla that sits close to your skin. If you're familiar with more recent gourmand perfumes like Bianco Latte or the Cirque du Soleil perfume that came out, you know, there are some really big perfumes that are caramel and vanilla. Vangelis is nowhere near as sweet as any of those scents, and so this is still a very wearable, mature, demure kind of vanilla, and I prefer that, honestly. I wouldn't say that wearing Vangelis is like having a day at the beach or like being in the middle of summer, but I will say that in the wintertime, if you miss that feeling of being at a holiday party and maybe having almond cake in front of you and lots of treats and pomanders, so like oranges with cloves in them. If that's something that you want to be reminded of when you put a perfume on, then you will like wearing Vangelis and you might want to sample it. Now, I ordered my bottle directly from the Sylvaine Delacourte website. It arrived to me from France. I didn't have to pay any extra duties or anything like that, so I appreciated that. But it really is more the aesthetic that I look for in a vanilla perfume or in a perfume in general. It's not a very loud perfume. It doesn't shout, it doesn't yell. It just speaks in an indoor voice. I find that it does have maybe 6 to 8 hours of lasting power, so I can't smell it very strongly on myself at the end of the day, at the end of a work day, but I'm okay with that. I've always said that longevity is not something that I necessarily look for in a fragrance. As I mentioned before, I find that vanilla scents go very sweet on my skin, and so something that is a little bit quieter has a tendency to not get as sweet, and I really appreciate that about Vangelis. If you're looking for a scent that is vanilla but a more interesting take on vanilla, if you like spices, if you're not scared of a little bit of bitter almond, then I would sample this perfume and see if it works for you. I do find that it leans a little bit feminine, maybe because in comparison to Noir Épice, which has some of the same notes, Noir Épice definitely seems more masculine. And I've owned Noir Épice for much longer, and I always thought of it as a very genderless perfume. But compared to something like Vangelis, Vangelis just seems quite feminine in comparison. Even though the scent has a very bright and effervescent opening, it is an opening that you can smell from arm's length away that will fill the room. It does die down a little bit more quickly, and this isn't really a very intense perfume. I'm someone that sprays lightly, and I feel like I can wear 2 or 3 or 4 sprays of this and not feel like it's overpowering or overtaking anybody else's personal scent bubble. So I appreciate that. This is very much the aesthetic of perfume that I enjoy wearing, and I will continue to wear it all winter long. Let me know if you have smelled this and what you think of it, or whether you have any other favorites from the Sylvaine Delacourte brand. I'd love to hear about them. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you next time. Bye.